Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I now invite the Assembly to turn to Agenda Item 13. It is plenary session on accelerated renewable deployments in Africa. The Assembly has before it a background document with the same title contained in A/14/BN/4. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is with a great honor that I welcome you all to this high-level ministerial event convened to discuss the profound potential of renewable energy in Africa and the avenues for harnessing this potential, most notably the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, APRA. The main objective of this meeting is to deepen our understanding of APRA's implementation strategy and venues for international cooperation to drive the deployment of renewable energy solutions in Africa, given the pressing need to deliver on a range of economic, social, and environmental priorities. We have to look for solutions that can help deliver on these multiple objectives. Renewable energy emerged as one of these solutions. So, the question is, how do we move forward at the necessary speed and the necessary scale? We know collective action can significantly amplify the impact of individual efforts. Today's discussions will therefore focus on how we can enhance these synergies among our nations, transforming our individual potential into collective action with tangible outcomes. Regarding the structure of today's event, we have organized it into 3 engaging segments. We will begin with scene-setting remarks for Kenya, Chair of KAOSK, to be followed by remarks from His Excellency Sheikh Shahbout Al Nahyan, Cabinet Member and Minister of State of Foreign Affairs of the United Arab Emirates and the Director General of IRENA. The second segment will cover interventions from various countries, providing an opportunity for each nation to share insights and progress on their renewable energy initiatives under APRA, as well as interventions from our partners whose invaluable support and collaboration are essential to our shared success. Lastly, we will transition into an open discussion, allowing for a dynamic exchange of ideas and strategies for fostering a richer understanding and innovative approaches to our common challenges, to be followed by the closing session. I invite you all to engage in this conversation so we can learn from each other and accelerate progress in Africa and beyond. Thank you, and I look forward to our fruitful discussions and collaboration today. I would like now to invite His Excellency Mr. Davis Churchill, Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum at the Ministry of Energy of Kenya, for his introductory remarks. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, as we gather here today to discuss the accelerated deployment and renewable energy in Africa, we are reminded of the bold vision articulated in the Nairobi Vision by African leaders last September. This vision envisioned a thriving, resilient continent that embraces climate-positive growth in its vision that Kenya fully supports. The declaration calls for at least 300 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. For Kenya, this is a natural extension of our energy strategy, with 93% of the grid already powered by renewables. Kenya energy strategy exemplifies our commitment to harness our abundant natural resources for sustainable development. We are close to achieving our target of 100% clean energy by the year 2030. Through the accelerated development of geothermal, solar, wind, and other renewables, we aim not only to achieve energy independence, but also to propel our economy forward as a green industrialized powerhouse of the 21st century. Yet, despite our vast abundant natural resources and untapped renewable energy potential, Africa faces challenges in accessing appropriate investment and finances for essential services, unlocking economic opportunities, and climate change intervention. The lack of significant and appropriate finance and investment mechanism present a significant barrier to realizing our ambition. We recognize the need for a holistic approach that addresses both climate and development priorities tailored to the unique needs of our communities. Africa finds itself trapped in a vicious financial and investment cycle. The scarcity of appropriate finances severely constrain our capacity to invest consistently and strategically in basic infrastructure, social services, and climate change initiatives. As a result, the absence of this critical investment inflates the risk premiums tied to accessing financing. These heightened premiums in a vicious loop exacerbates Africa's struggle in securing the essential investment needed, prolonging a detrimental cycle of financial stagnation and delayed progress. And this is a path we should be determined to divert in the realm of climate change financing. Our President of Kenya, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, has been in the forefront in advocating a climate change finance architecture which is equitable and of equals. He has strongly believed that Africa needs a new financial model where Africa is not left behind, but is better equipped to combat climate change alongside its counterpart across the globe. This is why our president has put his weight behind EPRA, which has the potential to drive such a change through coordinated international cooperation. In this pursuit, Kenya fully supports the Africa Renewable Energy Partnership for Accelerated Renewable Deployment, EPRA. Through international cooperation and robust country action plans, EPRA aims to drive tangible change in infrastructure, policy, capacity development, and green industrialization. I extend my sincere appreciation to our partners, Denmark, Germany, UAE, and to IRENA for the invaluable support in facilitating this partnership. IRENA analysis underscores the urgency of quadrupling renewable capacity in APRA countries by 2030 to achieve universal electrification and capitalize on green industrialization. To this end, we must focus on increasing demand and harness local capacities, particularly in energy-intensive industries and emerging sectors like mineral processing and green hydrogen production. This directly capitalizes on Africa's strength in abundant mineral resources and a young workforce. By doing so, we position ourselves to foster the diversification of our global value chain and as well as to contribute markedly to global decarbonization. In September, under the patronage of His Excellency President William Ruto, Kenya will host the EPRA Investment Forum in Nairobi. This forum will foster a conducive policy environment for renewable energy investment and connect project developers with potential financiers, making a significant step forward towards our goals. Finally, I would like to use this opportunity to call for an expansion of APRA's membership and partners across Africa and worldwide. I invite partners to facilitate investment in renewable energy, manufacturing facilities, develop local supply chains, and promote collaboration with G7 countries. Partners should encourage their private sector entities and financial institutions to seize opportunities with APRA countries, especially in green hydrogen, critical minerals, systemic fuel, and among others. Let's partner in the upcoming EPRA Investment Forum to take place in Nairobi in September 2024. Welcome all opportunities that align with our goals and values. I am confident that with regular dialogue among ourselves, we can promote, align, and adopt an adaptation of strategies, exchange of ideas, and position EPRA as a dynamic agent of change. Together, we will realize our shared vision of a sustainable and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. I would now like to invite His Excellency Sheikh Shahbut Al Nahyan, Cabinet Member and Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of the United Arab Emirates, for his remarks. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, Minister of Infrastructure of Rwanda, Your Excellency, Mr. Davis Churcher, Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum of Kenya, Your Excellency Francisco La Camera, Director General of IRENA, Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UAE. We're extremely pleased to have you here, and I hope you have a blessed and an enjoyable and a fruitful time here in our country. It's my distinct pleasure to be given the opportunity to address you at this high-level plenary session to discuss accelerated renewable energy deployment in Africa during the fourth session of the IRENA Assembly, a platform recognized as strategic global platform for inclusive and diverse discussions on all facts of energy transition. It comes at a moment when the UAE recently hosted a momentous 28th Conference of Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP28, last December, which concluded with signing of the historic UAE Consensus, a historic agreement by 198 parties to usher a new era of climate action. A document that aims to encourage parties to transition far away from fossil fuels, to achieve net zero emissions, establish specific targets, to triple renewables and double energy efficiency by 2030, and also to build momentum towards a new a new architecture for climate finance. We were just speaking about agriculture with the Minister of Zimbabwe here, maybe hence. We recognize the work of Africa Adaptation Initiative, AAI, and the Africa Renewable Energy Initiative. It is our hope to build upon and expand partnerships that are mutually beneficial and that offer economic, environmental, and social prosperity, leaving no one behind. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we are convening once again in the UAE to drive a resilient and inclusive green growth in Africa through renewables, the Accelerated Partnership of Renewables in Africa aims to accelerate energy transitions in Africa under the leadership of African nations. The initiative has a big role in galvanizing actions and inspiring global climate leadership, emphasizing the need for increased public finance from the international financing community, which on the 2nd of December 2023, which in fact is also our National Day in the UAE, in COP28 here in my country, the leaders of the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, Kenyan's President, Dr. William Ruto, Namibia's Deputy Prime Minister, Danish Prime Minister as well, and the German Chancellor, agreed to accelerate on 3 pivotal areas: mobilizing finance, activating technical assistance, and capacity building, and engaging the private sector. The Ittihad 7 is a prominent example of the UAE-led innovative program for funding renewable energy projects in Africa that aims to supply electricity to 200 million people by 2035. Through consolidating efforts to achieve UN Sustainable Development Goals 7 for Africa under a single initiative, facilitating sustainable development by solving key challenges that hinder the acceleration of clean and affordable energy in emerging markets, with the potential to boost jobs and economic growth, provide clean energy to millions of households, and strengthen social programs, including health and education. Ladies and gentlemen, the cultural and commercial ties between the United Arab Emirates and Africa are long-standing and deep. The African continent is rich in opportunity, with some of the fastest-growing economies on the planet. And in partnership with the African continent, there is much to be offered in working comprehensively to boost prosperity for our peoples and foster opportunities for future generations. My country approaches this responsibility with the utmost seriousness. We recognize the immense task that comes with such opportunities, and as an engaged member of the international community, we are committed to deliver strong outcomes that address the growing threat of climate change. In this context, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, has announced that 2024 will be the continuation of the Year of Sustainability in the UAE, building the success of last year's theme and reaffirming the nation's commitment to fostering a sustainable and prosperous future for all. In line with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan visionary leadership, we aim to inspire this collective action through true and genuine partnership with all countries. Ladies and gentlemen, for more than a decade, Masdar in Africa has been building an extensive pipeline of clean energy projects committing to $2 billion of capital across the African continent, with 2,000 megawatts of renewable energy assets. And it is targeting to mobilize $10 billion of investments into the continent by 2030 to deliver a total of 10,000 megawatts of clean energy projects, and is also a key member of the African Green Industrialization Initiative announced during COP28. And within the same context, the UAE announced $4.5 billion to finance initiatives for clean energy projects with the aim to speed up the development of clean energy. We in the UAE aim to achieve progress in all fields in cooperation with our African and international partners, and we share a vision of boosting prosperity for our peoples and creating opportunities for future generations. Crucially, with the energy demand across the African continent expected to triple by 2040, Africa may need to meet the fastest-growing energy needs without the corresponding surge in greenhouse gas emissions. After all, Africa is rich in renewable resources. Indeed, some challenges remain among securing competitive funding for large-scale energy projects and using sector expertise to facilitate market entry and support. In its capacity as an active and engaged member of the international community, the UAE will continue working with its partners in Africa and internationally to strengthen investments in key sectors, pooling resources, expertise, and technology to unlock the vast renewable energy potential and propel sustainable development forward. The robust partnership between the UAE and the continent is reflected in our partnerships and development projects. Today, we are deeply invested in the prosperity and well-being of the entire continent, where the UAE is investing in critical infrastructure projects, leveraging existing partnerships in Africa, including renewable energy, of course, to share the UAE's renewable energy expertise to advance economic and human development. In turn, our commitment to deploying clean energy in Africa remains firm, where the UAE looks forward to intensifying partnerships with all African countries, where together we can build bridges of cooperation between our countries to pursuit of a more sustainable future. With so much to offer to each other, the UAE and Africa will continue to enjoy fruitful partnership that bring growth and prosperity to our peoples. I thank you all, and once again, welcome to the United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. I would like now to invite the Director General for his introductory remarks. You have the floor, DG.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Minister Churchill, for setting the scene for this conversation so clearly. And many thanks for our friend, Cabinet Minister, in representation of the UAE to this discussion, confirming the strong interest of UAE in the work of APRA. This is the first time that we are discussing APRA in the Assembly, but we have been discussing it among ourselves for some 2 years now. The opportunities for renewable energy in Africa are immense, but they are not being fully realized. Yesterday, I reflected on this as well. In 2023, record deployment was being reached in other parts of the world. Africa's share stood at 1.5%. And this is where APRA has the transformative potential to reshape the renewable energy landscape in Africa and to serve as a blueprint for other regions. The priorities set by the African country for the coming years are clear. Affordable finance and participation of the private sector, underpinned by capacity building and technical assistance. Let me give a concrete example. On IRENA ITAF platform, 55% of the projects received are from the sub-Saharan African region. However, these projects are primarily saved in draft form and not submitted for ITAF assessment and financing consideration. This indicates that the majority of projects looking for financing in the region are facing challenges in business development stages, while they are expecting impact will cover over 220 million people, nearly 1/4 of the African population. But we have been speaking about problems and obstacles for a long time now. We understand what they are. In most cases, we have a pretty good idea on how to solve them. Some of the solutions need to come from reform of systems and structure, most notably of Multilateral Development Bank and IFC. And the other will come from our collective will to try new avenues and reimagine how international cooperation can work. And this is how we are approaching APRA. First, APRA stands on the foundation of country leadership with strong support of partners in a process facilitated by IRENA. The work is rooted in a political vision and commitment and aligned with national priority and frameworks of African countries, ensuring that activities are not only relevant, but also sustainable in the long term. This country-centric approach fosters ownership and a deeper commitment to the success of renewable energy projects. Second, IRENA's facilitation role is critical in gathering expertise, resources, and a network of partners to bridge the gaps between ambition and actual implementation capability, ensuring that projects are not just visionary, but actionable. Third, the coordination among partners and APRA is unparalleled and ensures a holistic approach to renewable energy deployment. This multi-stakeholders engagement is crucial for addressing the complex challenges of energy transition to the provision of comprehensive technical, financial, and capacity building aspects. Only international collaboration. And let me thank the 7 countries, Kenya, Namibia, Ghana, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, Denmark, Germany, UAE, and US, United States, that has offered the engagement in accelerating together the energy transition. Most importantly, this effort must yield socioeconomic benefits that the continent has the potential to harness. In my bilateral in this day, and I really apologize that sometimes I have to leave this room for my bilaterals, but I think it's important to listen to countries, and there is an interest of other countries from both sides to join APRA. So we'll have a deeper discussion on this in a side event after this session, where we share IRENA works on the potential in the areas such as local value chain creation and the installation that renewable-based transition can bring to Africa. And naturally, on this respect, our collaboration with the African Union is essential. I look forward to this discussion, especially as we exchange ideas on how to make the APRA model of cooperation not only successful, but also replicable in other parts of the world. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks. And back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director General. I would like to, this morning we will also have hear from two sessions from the members of two panels. And then I will immediately open the floor for interventions by delegation. Let me now invite our African colleagues to join us on the podium. Before I will invite them and introduce them, the first is His Excellency Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, Commissioner for Energy and Infrastructure, African Union. We also call His Excellency Mr. Edgar Moyo, Minister of Energy and Power Development in Zimbabwe. His Excellency Dr. Haptamu Itefa Jeleta, Minister of Water and Energy, Ethiopia. Her Excellency Ms. Cornelia Shilunga, Deputy Minister of Mines and Energy of Namibia. His Excellency Albert Krapper, Deputy Minister of Energy, Ghana. Yes, now I welcome Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abu Zaid to share her remarks. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and allow me first to again express my deep thanks to IRENA for inviting the African Union to be present in these important meetings, and to express our gratitude to the host country for the generosity and the hospitality that has been extended to myself and to my delegation. Now, at the risk of repeating some of the messages that I said yesterday, that we also heard throughout today about Africa and the importance of a partnership, let me again commend and highly commend IRENA for the continued support that we have been, that was extended to many African countries, and also to some of the African Union initiatives, as well as for the this partnership for renewables in Africa. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the global agenda and the task at hand to accelerate Africa's universal access to electricity and transition to cleaner energy call for deepened and focused partnerships at the international, continental, and regional levels. I am pleased with the focus of APRA in some of the most important areas that African Union Commission is advocating for, including mobilization of adequate finance, the technical assistance, capacity building, as well as private sector engagement. We believe that effective implementation in these key areas will transform the energy sector in our continent. I would like to highlight that international partnerships must continue to focus on the context and the realities in our continent, Africa, to successfully deliver key outcomes in renewable energy deployment. Our priorities and plans in the continent are well known, and definitely IRENA is very well involved in the work that we do, whether it's in our program for infrastructure development, PIDA, which already has set a target to achieve additional hydropower capacity by 2040, the Continental Power System Master Plan, where IRENA has been extending its technical expertise, which aims to add 760 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2040, the AREO, the African Renewable Energy Initiatives, which aims to add 300 gigawatt by 2030. So all of these are important initiatives, and we need, it's important that APRA streamlines and works within the framework of these initiatives. Second, it is important also that in our partnerships, we provide effective support to mechanisms and programs already being implemented, and to help with the key barriers. I'm not only talking about finance but also the policy and regulatory frameworks, something that we at the African Union are focusing on in terms of harmonizing these policies and regulations in order to ensure the operationalization of the African single electricity market by the year 2040, but as well as, to revitalize, operationalize more some initiatives such as the NEPAD IPPF or the African Green Infrastructure Alliance, which we established together with the African Development Bank, Africa 50, and many partners, and which has mobilized quite an impressive amount of money. We need to streamline all these initiatives and consolidate them in order to realize the impact quickly, given the dire situation in the continent and the importance of delivering as fast as we can. I cannot not talk about clean cooking. And clean cooking very often in the conversations seems to be absent, whereas the situation of clean cooking in the continent calls for immediate and decisive action. Again, to remind everyone that almost 1 billion Africans do not have access to clean cooking. And this is causing not only a delay in terms, socioeconomic development, but it's simply causing death. It is a tragic situation. More than 300,000 people in the continent die prematurely because of the respiratory diseases generated by unhealthy, unclean cooking methods. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of clean cooking, and I refer you all to the African Common Position that was adopted at the highest level of the continent, the level of the heads of states, adopted in June 27 and presented to the COP27 formally, and it was agreed by everyone. And I'm really, really happy that in COP28, clean cooking made its way historically for the first time in history to the level of heads of states to be recognized as a priority for the continent. So in going forward, I really wish APRA all the best and assure everyone of our readiness of the African Union to continue to work closely with IRENA, with all partners, in order to accelerate investments, remove hurdles for clean and renewable energies, facilitate the implementation, and ensure that there is massive investments at scale happening across our continent in order to alleviate and reduce poverty and improve the well-being of all Africans. And I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Amani. Now I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Edgar Moyo, of Zimbabwe to share his reflections.
Thank you very much, Program Director and the entire leadership of IRENA. I also want to recognize the presence of all excellencies that are here and assembly delegates congregated in this important assembly. Zimbabwe is deeply committed to the global energy transition, recognizing the urgency of climate action and the potential of renewable energy sources. In this light, our government has been vigorously supporting and accelerating the development of solar independent power producers. In that regard, the country, through the issuance of government implementation agreements, initiated a government implementation agreement, and this year alone, our Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion has issued 12 such agreements to IPP applicants, a testament to our dedication to this cause. As a result, we are expecting over 100 megawatts of solar energy to be commissioned and connected to our national grid within this year. This is part of the procurement framework development. To further promote and support investment in renewable energy, Zimbabwe is a member of the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, APRA, being coordinated by IRENA. We want to acknowledge IRENA on successfully holding a stakeholder consultation workshop on APRA in January this year. Zimbabwe believes that APRA should demonstrate that deployment of renewables in Africa can surely be accelerated by making deliberate moves to ensure availability of affordable and accessible funding for deployment of renewables in Africa, particularly in APRA member countries. By doing so, tangible results will be seen, which can attract many more African countries to join the race, thus scaling up the concept to Africa as a whole. The APRA membership should not be treated as individual countries' undertaking, but for Africa and Africa Union level. At AU meetings and summits, EU should consider awarding a platform to discuss APRA expectations, achievements, and challenges. Affordable, sustainable, modern energy access for all and green industry, particularly anchored on processing, beneficiation, and conversion of critical materials for energy transition in the country of origin. This will help Africa to rise their socio-economic status as they walk the energy transition talk. IRENA should help Africa as coordinators of the partnership. All APRA member countries should be assisted with capacity building of partners on project preparation, development, and implementation. International partnerships are a major player within the socio-economic environment, and international partners should deliberately provide affordable financing for APRA implementation in Africa. International partnership can further partner the local industry with the bid to mobilize finance from multiple public sectors, such as pension funds, philanthropy, cultural activities, and many more. If APRA manages to mobilize funds from other public sectors at concessional rates, then this can be used for project preparation and lower the cost of projects to the private developer. Zimbabwe has started effecting cost-reflective tariffs for electricity to help improve the bankability of the utility and build investor confidence. Zimbabwe is in support of the tripling of renewables and doubling energy efficiency as we also achieve our middle-income economy aspiration. Zimbabwe is open for business. I thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Mr. Edgar, for the remarks. Now we turn the floor to His Excellency Dr. Abtamu Ite-Fageleta, Minister of Water and Energy in Ethiopia.
Thank you, Chairman. Just I want to focus on Nairobi Declaration 2026-2063, what we should do as Pan-Africans, how we should join hand in hand and then bring prosperity to the region, especially using the renewable energy. We believe more than 40% of available renewable energy is from Africa, which need investment cost of more than $3 trillion. I think if we try to see back what has been supported so far, it's less than $60 billion. So still there is a big gap how there should be some mechanism of working on mobilizing resources. Investing in Africa means investing on the globe because as we see a lot of youngsters use who has graduated from university, we can see them scattered all over the world. Just coming to Ethiopia case, we do have significant amount of renewable energy potential. If we see from hydropower, we have more than 45 gigawatt potential. As we know, the topography, the hydrology and everything is favorable for that. Wind and geothermal, both of them account for 15 gigawatts. This is a lot. Not only for Ethiopia, it will be a big blessing for our brothers also in our neighboring country and in the region. We have taken initiative to build a biggest hydropower dam in Africa with a capacity of 5.1 gigawatts, which is doubling our current energy generation potential. This energy, we believe, is not only for Ethiopians, it's for all our brotherly and sisterly neighboring countries who should, and we believe, should enjoy, even though we have problem in our country. Mainly in Africa, and the same is true in Ethiopia, the way the settlement pattern we are having our people is unlike that we can build infrastructure from the main grid. So off-grid is also one of the options that we should focus upon that. Either from the off-grid or other energy source. The main engagement from private sector is vital. About the private sector, they always see for the bankability how the project is feasible, whether it is feasible from economic, financial point of view. I think it should be the initiative of the government also to devise appropriate policy. From Ethiopian side, we do have conducive environment, especially to engage in the form of PPP model, the private-public partnership model. If every nation in Africa, they contain or they follow the same pattern, I think that would create a conducive environment. Second point I would like to say is, we have to see also the potentials that we have among each other. We are good in hydropower. Our brothers from Kenya, they are good in geothermal. Then if the others are also having different potential, then we have to think in a way that we can link the different options and the scenario. For that, I guess the APRA, the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable in Africa, should manage, should handle all these kind of options, how we can bring all Africans together and bring to prosperity. And Ethiopia remain committed for that, not only committed, but we are practically already linking our brothers to our existing power network, to Djibouti, to Kenyan brothers, and to Sudan, even to South Sudan, and to Somalia as well. There is a request that we are doing. I think these are the very important points for all of us to learn from each other and develop the renewable energy for prosperity of the continent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Abtamu. We now give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Cornelia Silunga, Deputy Minister for Mines and Energy of Namibia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, dear delegates, Namibia faces significant challenges in the electricity sector, and that includes inadequate infrastructure, geographical constraints, and socioeconomic dynamics. These challenges are compounded by the impacts of climate change that exacerbates the existing vulnerabilities and hinder the efforts to ensure reliable and affordable energy access for all our citizens, more particular in rural and peri-urban areas. The dependency on imported electricity exposes us to supply disruptions and price fluctuations, highlighting the urgent need to enhance our own domestic energy generation capacity and improve energy security. Furthermore, as SADC ministers, we have adopted a principle of cost-reflective tariffs far back in 2004, and Namibia has reached this target. By having these cost-reflective tariffs in place, it ensures positive private sector participation in the generation sector. To date, we have more than 20 independent power producers, but on the other hand, the ministry is also aware that cost-reflective tariffs place a heavy burden on the final consumers, especially the poor and the vulnerable. Therefore, we need to find a balance to manage the increased investment and keeping the tariffs low for the end users. Namibia is actively diversifying its energy mix to reduce reliance on imported electricity and enhance energy security. And this includes a concerted effort to expand renewable energy deployment, particularly in solar and wind, to harness the country's abundant natural resources. The government is investing in the development of electricity infrastructure, especially in rural and peri-urban areas. And this includes the upgrading transmission and distribution networks to improve grid reliability and expand electricity access to underdeveloped, underserved communities. Namibia is pioneering into the development of green hydrogen as a cornerstone of its sustainable energy strategy, leveraging its abundant renewable resources to drive innovation and collaboration in this transformative sector. As a member of APRA, Namibia is looking at APRA as a platform that can support Namibia in accelerating the deployment of renewables by providing technical expertise and financial resources to address the challenges in the electricity sector. And this could involve funding infrastructure development projects in rural and peri-urban areas. APRA can also facilitate knowledge sharing and capacity building initiatives to enhance Namibia's renewable energy capacity. It can also offer technical assistance to strengthen legal and institutional framework. APRA can also offer the support for the regional initiatives that we have, for example, at SADC level, and other partnerships that are aimed at harmonizing our regulatory frameworks, developing cross-border transmission infrastructure, and facilitating trade in renewable energy sources across borders. APRA can play an instrumental role in unlocking cheap financing that can be grants or concessional financing for renewable energy projects development, and concerted efforts should be placed on support to access cheap financing. When it comes to partnership to contribute to building a robust local private sector, APRA can collaborate with local governments and organizations to provide training and skill development programs for local entrepreneurs and businesses. And this can include technical training for business development support and for accessing financing. APRA can also facilitate partnership between local renewable energy companies and the international stakeholders to access new markets and investment opportunities, and that create platforms for benchmarking, for networking, for market intelligence sharing, contacts to connect local businesses with potential customers, investors, and partners. IRENA is an organization where we affiliate, and we believe it can provide technical expertise and advisory support to APRA in developing renewable energy projects in African countries. IRENA can also facilitate knowledge exchange and best practices among the APRA members through platforms such as workshops, webinars, knowledge sharing networks. And finally, we also believe as Namibia that IRENA can support capacity building efforts within APRA member countries to strengthen institutional capacities, human resources, and technical skills in the renewable energy sector. This includes providing training program workshops, educational resources to empower policy makers, regulators, and industry professionals to drive the renewable energy deployment effectively. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Ms. Cornelia. We give the floor to His Excellency Herbert Koropa, Deputy Minister of Energy, Ghana.
Thank you very much, Excellencies. Ghana congratulates IRENA for a successful launch of APRA, and we are pleased to make this important intervention at the plenary on accelerated renewable energy deployment in Africa. APRA is ambitious, APRA is timely, and for all the socio-economic gain it will bring to the African people, APRA's success is also equally non-negotiable. We have to be disruptive and innovative, employing a collective approach to achieve our targets. Ghana has taken steps to mobilize finance and created a conducive environment for private sector participation in the area of renewable energy deployment in our country. Ghana has also demonstrated large-scale solar integration into the grid through hybridization with hydropower and utility-scale energy storage systems. Currently, we have over 100 megawatts of solar in the grid, and another 200 megawatts is under construction. We have the largest floating solar today in the region, with an additional 20 megawatts of that to be added by December 2024. We have developed an energy transition framework. We have modeled this framework into an energy transition investment plan. We have worked on a 2,000 megawatt suite of renewable energy projects for which private sector participation is required to implement. We have an electricity access rate of 88.86%, and we are deploying mini-grids and net metering in what we are calling the last and final mile. Our goal of increasing our share of renewables in our energy mix from the current 3.5% to 10% by 2030 is a tripling agenda, directly in line with global ambition. And it's in this regard that we fully support and endorse APRA. To succeed, we need to find innovative ways to mobilize finance to support the APRA initiative across the continent. Blended finance, patient capital, grants, green bonds, local currency financing, and the many other tools being used successfully elsewhere. Additional investments will be required in grid infrastructure to accommodate renewable energy at the various African member states level. Furthermore, technical assistance in the areas of human and institutional capacity development would be crucial for the implementation of our commitments under APRA. Support for APRA is an imperative, and we support APRA because it will spare energy demand and the corresponding socio-economic growth and development for the realization of our ambitions. We need to establish smart and strategic partnerships to achieve a reasonable and sustainable renewable energy ambition for the African continent by 2030. Ghana believes in APRA, and we are ready to lend our expertise and support to leverage its thematic areas to unlock investment for rapid energy transition, securing energy access and security, sustainable livelihoods, and driving a green industrialization revolution in Africa in this century. And in equal measure, we hope that we can also take advantage of the APRA platform to help unlock financing into the agenda of renewable deployment in Ghana. We're convinced that APRA will provide a catalytic effect to drive investment to achieve a measurable renewable energy capacity by 2030, mitigating millions of tons of CO2 equivalent of greenhouse gases, improve indoor and outdoor air quality, improve our competitiveness in the green product and service economy, as well as create decent jobs for the millions of our youth. We take this opportunity to thank all the partners who made this high-level event possible and assure of Ghana's commitment to contribute to the achievement of the objectives of the APRA initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Herbert Kurapa. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for our speakers, for the information and insight you have provided. You may leave the podium as we welcome the second member from APRA Partners.
Sì, forse abbiamo chiuso la tavola. Io ho aperto. Da quanto siamo? Non lo so.
Again, we are going to hear from some of APRA partners from their reflection. They are going to speak from their seat. We will start by Ms. Anna Spitzberg, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Energy Transformation at the U.S. Department of State. She will be followed by His Excellency Mr. Anders John Hansen, Ambassador of Denmark to the UAE and the Permanent Representative of Denmark to IRENA. And we finally hear from Marcus Hicken, Director for Energy Diplomacy, Climate and Security of Germany. You have the floor, Ms. Anna Spitzberg.
Thank you very much, and thank you for those presentations. We second all of those messages because APRA really has the potential to work with various groups to identify a dedicated pipeline of projects at affordable rates and that are actually integrated and really reduce the risk premiums that we have seen throughout the region. And we very much see potential to increase our collaboration, including through Power Africa, some of whom is sitting next to me right now. Through Power Africa, we've learned a significant amount of lessons that can be shared with APRA, especially in terms of expediting renewable energy projects. They have worked to expedite using their financial and technical capacity, close to 7 gigawatts of renewables throughout the region. And we know in general there is potential for large investment. Just recently, we've seen our Export-Import Bank make its largest renewable investment ever in Africa, 900 million for 2 solar PV plants in Angola. We've seen DFC put 100 million recently into the Morova Fund for off-grid solutions, and many more examples. And we want to see others come to the table as well, and so that we can all share our lessons and be able to look at a very different scale of projects throughout. It's also the reason that we hope that APRA will hold its investment forum by the end of this year. We would love to see more players in the investment community, in the development community, to really come to the table and show what they can bring to the region, as well as industry. Because at the end of the day, industry can offtake, industry has strong balance sheets, industry is the economy that works with energy, and we need to make sure that that economic planning is done the same time as energy planning. So we really hope to see that forum come to play. And I really like the comment that was made about needing to be disruptive and innovative. We hope to see all of that reflected in APRA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anna. Now we are going to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Anders John Hansen, Ambassador of Denmark to UAE, and the permanent representative of Denmark to IRENA. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for the floor, Mr. Chair. Let me start by saying the transition to renewable energy is a huge opportunity for African countries. Responding to the energy access gap of, on average, half of the continent's population would release a big untapped potential and deliver a broad range of positive outcomes. Economic growth, new green jobs and income, improved public health, as well as more independent and secure energy supply. Globally, the green energy transition is crucial for keeping the 1.5-degree target alive and delivering on the Paris Agreement. A key part of this will be the development of the next round of NDCs to be ready well ahead of COP30 in 2025 and building on the ambitious outcome of COP28. The case for accelerating a green energy transition in Africa and harnessing its potential is stronger than ever. We are therefore very proud to be one of the founding partners of the African country-led Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, APRA in short. Our contribution should be seen in light of the Prime Minister of Denmark's appointment by the UN Secretary General as global champions for the Global Crisis Response Group, with a special focus on energy and the green transition. A central part of APRA is that it's held by visionary African partners, launched by President Ruto of Kenya at the African Climate Summit in Nairobi last September. APRA is therefore an excellent example of a new way of collaborating through an equal and close partnership. Many African countries have high ambitions of accelerating renewables, which means that they can avoid the lock-ins of a fossil fuel-based economy and deliver a broad range of positive development outcomes. The first APRA activities, including dedicated country workshops, have confirmed that the ambitions and momentum are conducive for such a partnership. However, accelerating the renewable energy future of Africa will not be easy, even if renewable technologies are the least cost option in most places globally. A green transition requires an enabling policy and regulatory environment, technical expertise and capacity development. It requires massive amounts of investment and capital, and it requires strong engagement of the private sector. Moreover, there are no one-size-fits-all solutions. A tailored approach for each country and region is needed. Therefore, to accelerate the renewable energy future of Africa requires all hands on deck. Having said that, we are not starting from scratch. Denmark has vast experience and expertise from our own green transition, and we are more than willing to share these. In fact, we are already doing so in more than 13 developing countries, including APRA countries. We work side by side with local authorities and partners advising on how to make energy sector planning, modeling, and scenarios to support least cost development. How to integrate variable renewables in the energy mix while ensuring security of supplies. How to tender the transparent and successful public energy sector investment. Where to develop wind energy, for instance, through wind atlas mapping and alignment with local community development plans, and much more. We have also extensive experience with public-private partnerships, experience with mobilizing and blending public and private finance, including institutional investors such as pension funds, and experience with a variety of financial instruments such as guarantees. Furthermore, we support financial institutions in a sustainable energy space, including the African Development Bank and the Sustainable Energy Fund, CEFA. We will activate all of that in order to secure an accelerated partnership. And let me conclude by saying that a key for the success of this partnership is the demand, interest, and ambitions of our African partners. We thank the governments from the APRA countries for their leadership, as well as IRENA and our co-partners for the support and positive first experiences, and look forward to the journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now we give the floor to Mr. Markus Hicken, Director for Energy Diplomacy, Climate and Security from Germany.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the speakers for their insightful and important comments so far. Today, 60% of the world's best solar sites are located in Africa, but only 1% of the global solar capacity installed is in Africa. And at the same time, as we heard, we have 600 million Africans lacking access to energy. So to leverage the renewable potential on the African continent is crucial. It's crucial for implementation of the UAE consensus, but also for the achievement of the 2030 agenda more broadly. Contribution to energy access, green industrialization, local value creation, vocational training. This process needs to be Africa-owned, and it was therefore an important moment at COP28 and a strong signal when Kenyan President Ruto launched APRA by an event organized by IRENA and in the presence of the partner countries, including our Chancellor and the heads of states and governments of the other partners. African APRA partner countries committed to an economic development based on the expansion of renewable energy. The Nairobi Declaration is the most relevant proof of this commitment and a very important signal for COP28 and global markets. We need to support APRA to amplify this signal. It's a partnership under true African leadership, and Germany therefore supports APRA. So in order to mobilize finance for renewable energy, we are today involved with a number of proven instruments such as Get.Invest. And additionally, we have launched a call for ideas through our International Climate Initiative with up to 20 million euros at COP28. Moreover, we are planning to support IRENA to fulfill its role as the APRA Secretariat and to apply its analytical expertise. We have seen that the APRA members have already done some country consultations facilitated by IRENA and with first implementation plans to be drafted. We need to build trust that African countries committing to building an energy system based on renewables will receive support and the investment that they need. But as all of you know, we have already many existing partnerships. We have many existing cooperations programs. So we all need to ensure that we do not duplicate existing efforts like the excellent work of the NDC partnership, but we need to go beyond. And APRA should help to identify the missing pieces and show how we can best align our efforts to make this acceleration really happen. It's important for us that we do de-risking of investments and making the private sector engagement on scale viable, besides the establishment of stable investment-friendly framework in the partner countries, as mentioned. We know that investments financing the energy transition are concentrated in high-income countries, resulting in the fact that only 2% of global investment in renewables take place on the African continent. And we have heard also from some participants, guarantees might be one possible yet underutilized solution in order to balance high capital costs for green investments which are due to technical or political or currency risks. We need to mobilize more private capital. And this is why we have established a so-called Green Guarantee Group that seeks to close this gap by bringing together experts on the topic of cross-border investments and guarantees to produce solutions-oriented recommendations. So APRA can contribute to the de-risking of investments and therefore making private sector engagement at scale viable. Let me close by saying we have to do this because as our partner, the Ghanaian minister has said, APRA needs to be ambitious, but success is non-negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcos. I would like to thank you all APRA partners for the positive and constructive dialogue. I now open the floor for interventions from the delegations. In order to ensure the highest level of engagement and participation, speakers are invited to limit their interventions in the plenary to 3 minutes. If you want to request the floor, please indicate by pressing the button on your microphone. We are going to start by Italy, followed by the European Union. You have the floor, Italy.
Thanks, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, good morning. First, let me commend IRENA for putting Africa at the center of its action, a choice that we share, being Africa one of Italy's main priorities, if not the priority, also in the context of our current G7 presidencies. Africa is a key energy partner for Italy in various dimensions: energy supplies and security, cooperation for the energy transition, development of energy potential regarding renewable energy. For this reason, Italy intends to support the ambitious objectives that the African Union has set through our Agenda 2063, also regarding the energy dimension. Therefore, we welcome the launch of the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa. We also welcome the numerous reports elaborated by the agency, providing valuable data as a basis for raising awareness and calling for action, making the energy transition more concrete. Africa's immense potential in renewable energy is undeniable. The continent's rich resources, vast landscapes, and abundant sunshine position it as a future powerhouse for clean energy. Recognize this, Italy is committed to fostering a partnership that not only respects but leverages Africa's potential to contribute significantly to the global energy transition. Italy recognizes African countries as crucial partners in the just energy transitions and global decarbonization, This is why the Italian presidency of G7 intends to support them in the effort of tripling renewable resources, promoting access to clean energy, contributing to the development of the most innovative technologies, and guaranteeing the safety and sustainability aspect of the supply chain of critical minerals. We also aim at supporting the creation of new partnerships, improving the resilience of critical energy infrastructure, and highlighting areas of mutual benefit and potential cooperation. At the same time, it will be important to lower capital costs, improving projects pipeline, and facilitating investment in renewable energies, including standalone generation and enabling infrastructure such as storage, networks, and microgrids and off-grid systems. During the G7 Energy and Climate Working Group, IRENA presented the APRA initiative to the G7 membership to be able to contribute to the growth of the initiative also at the G7 level. This initiative, together with others, could contribute to enhance the key role of Africa as global partner in the just energy transition and global decarbonization. As Italy, we are evaluating the opportunity to join APRA, also by assessing all the possible synergies with other initiatives that we are discussing in G7 level. In conclusion, we believe that Africa's centrality to the development of renewables and the fight against climate change cannot be overstated. Italy, within its current G7 presidencies, is deeply committed to unlock Africa's renewable energy potential, ensuring a just and sustainable transition that benefits not only the continent, but the entire world. I thank you.
Thank you, Italy. We're now going to hear from European Union, who will be followed by the United Kingdom. I see they might not be ready. Let's hear from the...
I think we may have to activate.
Thank you very much for that. Apologies for the delay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The European Union fully supports the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa. It's an important initiative to boost investments in renewable energy in Africa, for access to energy, for access to affordable energy, and of course for our climate, in line with the agreement reached at COP28 last year here in the Emirates to triple renewables by 2030, together with a doubling of investments into energy efficiency. In order to make that happen, we need to address the bottlenecks that are there for access to capital, and we need private investments, in particular in developing countries, and APRA is really a key instrument to drive that investment. Our energy cooperation with countries in Africa focus on electrification through renewables, regional interconnections, storage, energy efficiency, and renewable hydrogen, all part of a full integrated energy system that is necessary for investment, necessary for energy access, and part of the exercise to de-risk. Among others, we aim to support the deployment of at least 50 gigawatt of additional renewable energy generation capacity in Africa, providing at least 100 million people with access to green electricity. At the level of the African continent, we support the Continental Master Plan for developing the African single electricity market that will allow for inter-regional electricity trade in Africa as well as with Europe. Regional approaches and interconnectors are an important part of access to energy and energy security. They can lower risk and thereby lower the capital costs, and they can help bring security and access to energy. We see that through the fairly interconnected systems in East Africa that we are working with, and we see that in the interconnections across the Mediterranean with countries in Northern Africa like Tunisia and Egypt, just to mention a few examples. So we look forward to working with APRA and further supporting APRA, we congratulate the partner countries and IRENA for the engagement and encourage others to follow this example. We're looking at ways to provide further additional support from the side of the European Union, including, of course, in relation to the APRA Investment Forum. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Now I give the floor to the United Kingdom, will be followed by the Russian Federation.
Thank you. And thank you to their excellencies for the presentations and interventions on this really crucial part of the energy transition, and in particular on APRA and the important programme of work that it is undertaking. I would like to welcome the ambition laid out in the important APRA initiative. I would like to commend Kenya and the other African member nations for setting the pace of accelerating renewable deployment in Africa. And I'd like to support the commitments of the Nairobi Declaration with aims to increase Africa's renewable generation to at least 300 gigawatts by 2030. Positively, last year, we saw the highest level of pledges to increase the global installed capacity of renewables. Many countries across the continent of Africa are well placed to ensure that these pledges translate to action, as we've heard today. However, we recognise the country-specific challenges that have limited this potential so far, and on which other speakers have already explained so eloquently. Increased availability of concessional finance and de-risking projects to ensure bankability are amongst the greatest challenges. The importance of African leadership in increasing renewable capacity across Africa will be key to the success. To this end, in line with the commitments made in our recently launched International Development White Paper, mutual respect will be a core principle of how the United Kingdom partners with others, with an increased focus on local ownership, transparency, and mutual learning. The UK recognises that key to effective renewable deployment is working with African governments to create enabling environments. Finally, a point on the importance of developing local supply chains, which I understand APRA holds as a priority. Promoting the manufacturing of key components of renewable energy systems across the continent of Africa, from solar panel assembly to battery to energy storage system technologies, will not only guarantee this diversity and resiliency of supply on a global level, but also ensure that local citizens get value of the energy transition. In closing, it has been inspiring to be here today to learn more about APRA and its superb leadership and progress. I very much welcome APRA's holistic approach to accelerate renewable deployment, keeping economic development at its heart. Let's continue to work together as the global community to deliver on our global decarbonisation goals and keep 1.5 within reach. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. We are going to hear from the Russian Federation. They will be followed by Belgium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexei Zhikharev. I'm Director of Russia Renewable Energy Development Association. So I would like to share a couple of ideas regarding the possible ways to boost the investment in Africa. So I firstly would like to underline that Russia is demonstrating pretty rapid growth of renewable energy. And by 2035, the actual capacity will be tripled as well. It's important to point out that according to the draft of the National Energy Strategy, by 2050, the share of renewable energy in the total consumption of Russian Federation will reach 10%, and this will mean that we will have around 100 gigawatt of capacity. According to the national policy of Russia, a production of certain equipment for renewable energy generation has to be produced locally, and that is why Russian companies make investments into the R&D and development of local production of key components for wind, solar, hydro, geothermal power plants, as well as storage technologies and hydrogen solutions. Why I'm telling all this on the session for accelerating green investments in Africa, because I believe that the target for carbon neutrality is the global and doesn't have borders. And a global society should not set such borders artificially and somehow limit investments opportunities for from or to this or that particular country. In particular, Russian companies are very interested in the investment projects in Africa and are willing to share its competences and technologies. And right now, we already have particular projects in South Africa, Mali, Ethiopia, Egypt, and others, and we have technologies to share. In Africa, like in Russia, there are a lot of isolated energy systems, and this is the common characteristics of our territories. Yesterday, I already suggested this in ASEAN session regarding the island projects which are located in this region. And now I would like to repeat that for the small-scale projects located in different isolated energy systems, what is absolutely crucial from my point of view is at least a combining of all the information about such projects on one platform, which will provide to the potential investors opportunity to get an access to such projects and to make them bankable through the packing them into the larger portfolios. The same portal and information about the best practices and best solutions and technologies should also be published as well, so we do not make or repeat the mistakes which have been done before. Another issue which is really important is an adaptation of the national energy systems for the higher share of renewable energy capacity. I here mean energy output forecasting and the balancing of its instability. And here I would like just to point out once again that without the strong cross-border collaboration, this is hardly reachable. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. I'll give the floor to Belgium. Will be followed by Guinea.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to welcome this initiative and thank for the inspiring presentation. APRA can take several tangible steps to support participating countries on the path to achieving the goals set out in the Nairobi Declaration and Agenda 2063, and more specifically to accelerate the deployment of renewables. I would first like to draw attention to the training aspect, which is fundamental. It is crucial to develop more training programs and online training programs on renewable energies, with an emphasis on the inclusion of young professionals, women, and youth in general. Training programs could be co-constructed with them to meet their specific needs in different countries and regions of Africa, and thus contributing to strengthening the necessary local capacities. In the same spirit, APRA could support knowledge exchange and facilitate peer-to-peer learning between countries. It is also essential to consider the setup of skills certification mechanism at national and regional levels to ensure the recognition and promotion of local skills in the renewable energy sector. This would help increase investor confidence and boost the adoption of renewable energy across the continent. To encourage the building of a strong local private sector, APRA could encourage cooperation with local employers through employers' federations to improve the skills of their workforce. APRA can also support the investment component to strengthen the private component on investment. Trust and prospects are necessary. This involves the establishment of a regulatory framework, the provision of reliable information on the state of a given country, and all measures aimed to reduce perceived risk. APRA could support the development of guidance documents and tools database energy planning based on the long-term scenarios to support the deployment of renewable energy and energy efficiency. IRENA can play a major role in this framework to support APRA in the implementation of all these practical proposals. For example, the agency could contribute to increasing visibility by supporting knowledge production and publication that is already carried out. The agency could also support peer learning, working groups, workshops, and help map local skills in African countries. I would like to end by recalling that since 2017, the Walloon region has been providing to IRENA voluntary contribution of 1 million euros per year to support the deployment of renewable energies in Sub-Saharan Africa, with a focus on French-speaking countries. These contributions have enabled IRENA to build a broad knowledge base. We also financed the IFDD for the creation of 2 tools linked to these questions, which are the Atlas of Skills in French-speaking countries and in online training on the basics of photovoltaic solar energy. I hope that the projects we support will continue to be useful and contribute to achieving a just and inclusive transition.
Thank you, Belgium. We hear from Guinea. I give the floor to Guinea.
Alors, une fois de plus, je veux remercier vraiment IRENA pour cette initiative. Ça nous permet d'avoir vraiment des relations, mais aussi de pouvoir tisser de bonnes collaborations avec non seulement certains pays, mais aussi certaines institutions comme APRA. Je veux remercier Monsieur le Président pour la bonne tenue de la session, ainsi que les panélistes pour les meilleures interventions. Et si vous avez tout à l'heure suivi mon intervention lors du panel précédent, vous vous rendrez compte que mes préoccupations sont prises en compte ou sont susceptibles d'être prises en compte par APRA. Alors, je suggère ou je demande comment faire pour que APRA puisse mieux s'intéresser aussi à d'autres pays de la sous-région ouest-africaine. Moi, je viens de la Guinée. Merci que Monsieur le Président l'avait signifié. Donc, pour qu'on puisse aussi bénéficier de ces avantages reçus à travers la collaboration avec APRA pour vraiment accélérer le déploiement des énergies renouvelables en Afrique. Bon, je veux préciser particulièrement en Guinée. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Guinée. Thank you very much. This was our last intervention for today, and thank you all for your inputs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you all for your quality and depth of the interventions shared by our esteemed speakers and thoughtful input from many delegations. Your insights have not only enriched our discussions, but also underscored the critical role of collaboration and strategic actions in advancing our renewable energy goals. Reflection on our discussions, let me provide a few reflections to summarize the discussions. We have reaffirmed that our climate strategy in Africa must align seamlessly with our broader development goals. Renewables, facilitated by APRA, are set to play a catalytic role in this alignment, driving sustainable growth and resilience across our nations. Tailor-made implementation plans rooted in national priorities will help us deliver coherently and efficiently. In this regard, APRA's commitment to enhancing coordination among partners and the collaboration with relevant initiatives is pivotal. This alignment will ensure more effective implementation of interventions, allowing us to maximize every opportunity for progress and accountability. We also recognize the importance of creating enabling conditions for robust cross-sectoral interactions. APRA framework is designed to foster communication and cooperation among all stakeholders, which is essential for holistic and inclusive development. A significant highlight from today's discussion is the role of APRA in facilitating concrete infrastructure development. This will be achieved through strong private sector engagement and the mobilization of finance. Such efforts are crucial for building the physical and the financial foundations required for large-scale renewable energy deployment and green industrialization. We look forward to the first APRA Investment Forum in September. Finally, we are united in our belief that APRA will substantially contribute to achieving Africa's climate and development commitments in line with Nairobi Declaration, Agenda 63, and COP28. This alliance is more than a framework for cooperation. It is a driving force for transformative action and a space where we can innovate and how to reinvent international cooperation to deliver on Africa's goal. I thank each of you for your contribution today. Your visionary perspectives inspire a promising path forward. We look to IRENA to facilitate this important partnership so that we deliver at COP29 and beyond. Thank you all for the active participation. Thank you all for a positive and constructive dialogue. This concludes our consideration of agenda item 13. I wish you a pleasant lunch. We resume at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.